Hello and welcome once again. We're starting with the regrouping of top opposition heavyweights in the country in coalition talks to unseat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027. The coalition officially settled for the existing platform of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, and unveiled former Senate President David Mark and ex-Osun State Governor Rauf Aregbesola as the interim chairman and secretary of the coalition platform, being positioned against President Bola Tinubu ahead of the 2027 elections. Well, other political bigwigs leading the coalition are former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Labour Party Peter Obi, former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amechi, former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, former Imo State Governor Emeka Ihedioha, former APC National Chairman John Odige Oyegu, among others. Well, the coalition talks and rebirth of ADC have ignited keen conversations about the potential impact of a united opposition and whether those backing it are genuinely interested in rescuing the country or merely desperate for power. Reactions to the new developments in the ADC have come in torrents, including that of the former presidential candidate of the ADC in the 2023 elections, Dumebi Kachuku. He warned that the ADC is not for sale and that the coalition leaders were dealing with a sacked national chairman of the party, Ralph Musu. Well, the presidency on its part has written off the coalition, describing the politicians as desperados united by their common hatred for President Bola Tinubu. SCT Minister Nyesom Wike doesn't think the coalition stands a chance against Tinubu, stressing that only his party, PDP, if properly organized, that's the caveat, especially with the exit of people like Atiku Abubakar, has what it takes to wrest power from Tinubu. To others, the coalition clearly has the caliber of politicians to cause serious upset. They said this has already begun to send shivers down the spines of the APC. Well, to help us take a look at the coalition talks and potential impact in the race for 2027, we have joining us in the studio public affairs and policy analyst Baba Yusuf. Also joining us is another public affairs analyst, Ben Ukeji. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us.
Like they say, the die is cast. Things are happening. Well, let me start with Bolaji Abdullahi, the MPS of the ADC. He says the party is more than an anti-Tinubu coalition, as some people are painting it.
Yes. Well, it remains to be seen if it is so. First of all, let me be clear about my position that I'm happy that there is a coalition of people that are trying to bring about a more formidable, quote-unquote, opposition party in Nigeria, because it is a critical success factor to the polity of a country like Nigeria. A couple of weeks ago or months ago, people were concerned, and rightly so, that we may be sliding into a one-party state. Why so? Because almost all the political parties that are active, because you know you have portfolio opposition parties, ND, those that are just in the briefcase or in the folio, is only during election they will come. For the ones that are active, you know, the PDP, the Labour Party, even recently the SDP, are immersed in crisis. And for about a year,
even NPP.
And NPP, for over a year, we have not had any solid, credible opposition as a party. What you had is opposition figures as individuals trying to put that pressure, whether Excellency Peter Obi, Excellency Atiku Abubakar, Excellency Senator Rabi Umar, those very strong, notable Nigerian oppositions. But it's beyond that. We wanted to see a structure, a political party that is effective in delivering the kind of opposition, if you may like, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu provided for about 25 years with his co-travelers in the opposition, in the trenches. But it appears I was a bit concerned because just 2 years after the 2023 election, it's as if, you know, the PDP, having lost power in 2015, do not have the capacity to hibernate and to stay in the trenches of opposition. You know, they enjoy bread and butter politics, and that is why they are consumed by internal infractions. So I'm happy to see this. But the concern is this coalition of strange-based fellows with conflicting interests. The concern is, will they be able to actually stay the course of the fundamental objectives of the opposition? We need to understand that. And I'm happy you mentioned the statement of Bolaji Abdullahi to say that. I'm happy to hear that. What I hope that will be also done in action, because if the opposition are coming together with the sole objective of upstaging a President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then as far as I'm concerned, that is not an opposition party. Nigerians are tired of being played into the game of what I call the conspiracy of the elites. Nigerian politicians, I say it boldly without any fear of contradictions, are same actors in different costumes, right? Playing all sorts of drama with different episodes. So we need to be careful as Nigerians to also look at it and dimension this opposition as their coalition. Somebody says early days, I say no. All the political juggernauts in the party have a political track record and history and antecedents that I can be used to gauge what is going on there. So I would like to see in the next couple of weeks some sure-footed moves that will demonstrate to Nigerians that they are the emerging veritable platform to bring that constructive engagement for the ruling party. Why? In my opinion, not as an opposition figure, not as a member of the ruling party, but as a Nigerian that wants Nigeria to move forward, to see an opposition that will make the ruling party to sit up and deliver the dividends of democracy, because lack of opposition party presupposes the ruling party will be strolling in the park, sitting pretty and doing whatever they want. And in the absence of that, it will become like an absolute power. And absolute power corrupts absolutely.
The reason why records are broken anyway, if you talk about athletes, is because somebody is behind you.
Absolutely.
In fact, somebody sent
brilliant analogy.
A picture.
Yeah.
He sent a picture, he said, I think he said something like racing without direction. And then somebody replied and said, a dog has not pursued you before.
That's a good
All right. What do you make of the caliber, the people that constitute ADC?
Yeah, basically, I would want to start by saying that I look at the emergence of ADC as a platform for the coalition, as a child of necessity, you know, because I believe very strongly that the existing opposition parties in the country has been muzzled out or have internal crises that cannot confront, okay, or provide the platform for opposition politics as it ought to be in a democratic environment.
Yeah.
So the emergence of ADC is a child of necessity, like I said. And I have listened to a lot of people, maybe in the ruling party or people interested parties, dismiss the coalition, members of the coalition. And I just laughed because I think those who are in the ruling party, if they should have better thinkers, that you cannot wish the caliber of personalities that are in that ADC, in that coalition, away just like that. Because these are people or persons who have won elections in the past, who have pedigree of politicking, you know, who have what, if you say, like, even the resources required, you know, to present a formidable front or fight against the ruling party. Yes, they may be out of government, but when you look at them individually, okay, you can analyze them and say, no, this can hold his ground in his own constituency, you know, and so you can't wish them away. That's my position. But you see, one thing I found very unpalatable is, instead of people looking at issues, you know, people are now looking at personality. You don't just begin to attack the persons in the coalition, okay? You begin to look at what are they bringing to the table, the issue. And like my brother Yusuf said here, definitely, in the absence of opposition party, it is communism. It's a communist party, like in China, like elsewhere. Nigeria should not accept a one-party state. We are a multicultural, multi-religious, and multi-ethnic society. So a one-party system, it is obviously not right for our kind of society. So we need a multi-party system, okay? Therefore, and opposition is not an enemy to the ruling government. It only puts the government in power on its toes. You know, it provides a platform, you know, it serves as an alternative, you know, to the ruling party. You know, because when the ruling party chunk out policies, you know, it is the opposition party, it's the role of the opposition party and the civil society that should criticize, x-ray such policies and analyze them and look at them and pick horse, okay? Therefore, it will end up serving the general interest of the country. So, the personalities are involved. Is it the David Magdat, who has been a former governor, a military administrator, and then a Senate president for like 8 years, that you dismissed? I am from Benue, just like him. He's from the south, you know, senatorial district of Benue, and I know that he holds grants in that area. So you cannot wish him away. So who else? Is it the, well, Anamechi, you can say...
Odige Oyego, former chairman of the APC.
Yes, now, Odige, you can say age has catch up with him, you know, but you cannot wish him away. All this
Obani Rauf Arebwashola.
You cannot obviously dismiss him.
They were in the same trenches, with
former governor, former minister. You cannot obviously, and don't forget, he played a role that made APC lost the election, the 20
in Osun
State, this governorship that Adeleke, you know, Oyotola lost, owing basically to the role played by Rafu Rebushola. So you cannot dismiss the national secretary of the party.
All right, let's begin to break things down. Dumebi Kachuku says the executives, by the way, let me lay the foundation. We now have David Mark, like he said, as the chairman, Obani Rauf Arebwashola as the secretary of the party, interim. Kachuku says executives chased out. The executives were chased out, I mean the executives of the ADC, because I think now you have factions. He claims the takeover is hostile and illegal and Wonsu has no power to sign the agreement. The question of Ralph Wonsu's chairmanship having expired in 2022.
Well, I listened to Mr. Dumebi Kachuku's statement, and what is very interesting is that ADC is an existing political party that is facing a rebirth. And a couple of days later, we are Saturday today, I think that coalition conversation started, I mean, they came to the public about 4 or 5 days ago. I'm yet to hear any member of National Working Committee of the ADC or any member of the National Executive Committee of the ADC, apart from the former presidential candidate coming out to take this position. Indeed, we saw at the rebirth of ADC, the chairman of the party and other leading members of the party, ADC, there, coming out to speak in support and collapsing the structure for the new ADC. So, what I would like to see in the next couple of days, like I said, I have a political history. Many people don't know. I was a founding member of the All People's Party in 1998. I was the first information officer of the party, and we ran the, you know, the politicking, including the conventions and everything, and formed the alliance with the Alliance for Democracy of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for presidential candidacy in 1998 against President Olusegun Obasanjo. So I was a party apparatic all through, understanding the mechanics and dynamics of the National Working Committee on the party at the one side, and the National Executive Committee of a party. And then water under the bridge, President Olusegun Obasanjo emerged as the president. And then I followed my political mentors, you know, into the PDP to form the nucleus of the PDP with the likes of Chief Olushola Saraki and others that moved into the PDP. What am I saying? Water down the line now, all our political mentors are in the PDP, they are in the APC, they are in the Labour Party and everywhere. So we understand how these things work out. The presidential candidate of a political party with profound respect does not have a party operational portfolio per se. That being said, it is his no right also to go and contest that position in a court of competent jurisdiction. But I will expect the ADC will continue moving, either with or without Mr. Dumebi Kachuku. What is important here is that we have a unanimity of purpose within the ADC, as it were. It is now left to them to do the right thing and win the elections, and put a formidable structure first, be a formidable opposition second, and have a strategy to win election third.
I'm going to come back to you with the strategy thing. I have a question on that, but let's follow this line of thought. Yeah. Now, the party filed an appeal, well, according to the maybe Atiku, an application, the question of Ralph Musu being the ousted chairman, as it were. He said the party, ADC then, filed an appeal and an application for injunction. And Section 138 of the Electoral Act says the said official stays in office until determination of the suit. They filed an appeal. So Ralph wants to continue to stay. So what do you think of that? I mean, like he has explained about presidential candidate and the workings of the NWC and the NEC, but what do you make of this? He's no longer chairman, he can't sign the agreement, but they're saying they signed appeal so they can stay.
I want to say that I think Dubami Atiku is playing a 50 colonist role in the ADC. That is, I will put it to say that clearly. And I want to say that he's just playing a spoilers game. That's how I look at it. Because I too, incidentally, I ran election on that platform of the ADC. Yes, in 2019, I ran election on that platform, the State House Assembly. I did. Okay, but I can't claim, and of course I left the party, I can't claim that I hold the party, even though as of that time, I funded the structure of the party in my constituency. When an attempt to win a State House of Assembly, just in 2019, I did that. Though I left the party right now, but for the fact that you were a candidate on the platform of a political party does not give you the right, to hold the party to horse or to claim that you owe the party or you control the party. When I ran that election, the same Ralph was here. We bought the form here. He screened us, so he was still the chairman of the party. Even as of this moment, what he's doing, he's still the chairman of the party as of that time. So Atiku, yes, he may feel that with the coalition, he may not stand a chance of running for a presidential election. Maybe that could be his grievance. But I think he should look at the larger picture of the Nigerian society. Because when you look at the fact that in recent times, you clearly see that we were gravitating towards a one-party state, which is not right for a nation like ours. So when you look at that, because the PDP has been muzzle-oiled, has been infested with a lot of internal crisis that cannot come out. I don't see the PDP coming out of the crisis that they are in. Even the Labour Party, the NMP. So what else do you expect? Now, and I do know, when you remember my first statement, I said the adoption of ADC as a platform by the coalition member is a child of necessity, because I believe that was not their first option. But because other options failed, including registration of a political party. I believe so. I am not their member, but I think so. If they have good strategies, the first thing should have been to try and register a political party. And I think maybe they meet a lot of hurdles along the way on the side of INEC, even though INEC is early, because the laws is clear that once an association meets the basic requirements, you ought to register them as a political party.
Well, there was a talk of ADA,
yes.
ADA.
Yes.
But now let me come to the question of what will be the best strategy of the coalition to give them a fighting chance of wresting power, as it were, from the ruling party. I'd like to talk about the ruling party and not to talk about the personality, because Tinubu is just a member of the APC.
Yeah.
Correct, especially when they have a lot of governors and members of assembly at subnational. So I like that line of thinking. And I had cause in another, your sister station, to have a message directly to Mr. President with regards to what you said. For the ADC, it's not enough just to have a vehicle. Let's get that clear. I will talk about the strategy on the side of the ADC and on the side of the APC, because there's this impression that APC will have a walk in the park in 2027, even if we don't have a formidable opposition. I will speak to that. But for the ADC, they are on low ground. I know they are trying to still form the ADA as a fallback option. Peradventure, spanners are thrown into the ADC. But what will remain the strategy should remain the same, whether it is the ADC or the other. One, there should be a clear messaging with regards to what they are about. Is it about taking APC out of the office, like I said, and I mentioned the president because he's the leader of the party. Every one of them, they are the key guys, want to take over the presidency. For now, the interest at the state level is not that much. More is focal point is the presidency. The clear messaging should be based on a clear substance of actually providing a veritable platform and veritable solution to Nigeria and for Nigerians. And their messaging should be clear in their communication strategy to the ears of Nigerians, not just with sound bites and the grandstanding of the very, very important, highly respectable personalities. It's beyond that. It's about what is happening in our markets. What is the price of food in the market? And the people that are dying, being killed and maimed and raped all over the country. The socio-economic indices. Not just about attacking the government, the ruling party, because that is the culture mostly of our opposition figures and opposition party. What are the solutions? And by this, I'm speaking to Nigerians. The next focus for the electorate and for the citizenry is to be looking at the solutions being profiled by opposition figures, opposition political parties, and the ruling party. In the case of the ruling party, holding them to account with regards to what they promised. On the case of the opposition party or the coalition now, with regards to their antecedents and with regards to the solution they are offering. So in the next 4 weeks, without prejudice to whatever they are planning, because they are top-line people, and I'm sure they have things going on, but our own contribution is selfish and parochial interest should take a second stage. I want to see elder statesmanship in its true form and structure in the person and personality of the dramatis personae. Excellency Atiku Abubakar, Excellency Peter Obi, Excellency Amechi, Excellency Nasir El-Rufai and others, to say it's about Nigeria. And that unanimity of purpose will be a critical strategic pillar for them. Otherwise, in the next 2 months, the key actors, when we do what we call SWOT analysis in strategy, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. If I have already done that for the ADC, as it were, their strength is their weakness. The big political figures there with conflicting interests is a big S, that is a strength, and a big W, that's a weakness. And when you are dimensioning strategy, when your strength is your weakness, you have a big problem. You need to deal with that.
If you don't manage it well.
If not, that's the point. Because you need to manage the egos, you need to manage the objectives. So they should have a united and aligned vision ab initio. And that selflessness to say, where are we going? Thirdly, within the next 2 months, Nigerians should know, is power, are they going to leave power for their own? Are they zoning presidential candidate to the south, or is it going to remain in the north? That is a very key strategic position.
Very key.
People should hear in their messaging, is power going to stay in the north, in ADC or not? That is what will drive it to the next 6 months. For the people, not for the politicians. Right? In the interest of unity, equity, and justice. If you say power will stay in the north, I dare say we are going to have most likely a scenario of ADC, PDP in 2023. Now, if they get their acts together and redirect and say, this is the position for presidency, is going to that way. Even if the processes are not complete, but you hear the messaging is going that way, they will get, because now there's excitement. People are inspired. So you get that momentum going. Thirdly, the structuring of the party should be done based on due process. The internal politics will determine the future of the party. If you are crying ADC, PDP is failing because there's no internal democracy, Labour Party is crying the same, you should not come and bring that toxic issue into this ADC. Everybody that is a garrison commander, that is a leader of thought, that is a Oga Kwata should cool down, have that unanimity of people say, why did we leave PDP? Why did we leave Labour Party? What are the common denominator issues?
Why are we forming a coalition?
And that should be the objective.
All right.
And based on that, have a structure that will emanate to the extent that they will be able to form a structure that will stay.
All right. Ben, okay, you want to contribute to
I
that,
want to add
but
to
yeah,
it.
just add to it. But
Yes, I want to
take this in your stride.
Okay.
What's your take on labeling those who make up the ADC as old, desperate politicians, desperados, united by a common hatred of the president? Could this be a sign that the APC is concerned or otherwise?
Yeah, he talked about messaging and strategy for the ADC, and at the same, I'm talking for the APC. That was a wrong statement, if you ask me. That was a very wrong statement. But it's same caliber of people were with them in the APC. Majority of them were with them. Atiku was in APC at some point. Amici was verified as being in the APC, and I remember the role he played, to emergence of Tinubu as a candidate of the minister. Yep. And I saw verified when the former governor of the central bank introduced that monetary policy, the change of currency. That was an issue that we said was targeted against Tinubu. I look at the way Odofai fought that idea. Now, what the presidency or the ruling party or the government should be concerned about is how to reject its policies that have led to the coalition, the formation of the coalition. Now, because if this coalition that I see it, just like he said, if they are able to come out with a strategic messaging, okay, that we captivate the minds, hearts and minds of Nigerians, I foresee a very serious fight. Now, the ruling party should be concerned about what took us here, what messaging. They should think what messaging is ADC going to come out with. Okay? So when they think that, they should be able to think how to counter such messages. Okay? So, but if you don't think that you want to dismiss these people based on personality, we are governor, what do they do? Time has passed. That is no longer the issue. Most of them, like they say, former, but today they have converged on a platform. Don't forget, what is a political party? A political party is an association of like-minded individuals, okay, who have come together with the purpose of winning election by deploying resources in presenting candidates that have capacity to win election, control government, and maybe make inputs to the policy of a country. That's a political party. Right. Now, these people are now in one party. So for you to dismiss them on a personality is a wrong step. Look at, okay, what are they going to bring to the table? Are they saying that the removal of fuel subsidy was wrong? Are they saying the floating of currency was wrong? Are they going to talk about high level of unemployment? Are they going to talk about the level of insecurity in the country? So if they come out with this talk, how do we counter them? That should be the concern, not to dismiss them as their personality. If they dismiss them in that manner, they will be shocked.
If you take things for granted,
yes,
they will shoot you in the leg. I mean, I remember the, the Democrats and the Republican, and the talk was about the messaging of the Democrats. That was why Trump came back.
Absolutely.
Oh, well. Next, and still on the coalition talks, is the People's Democratic Party's frantic efforts to put its house in order and reemerge from its protracted internal crisis. Why is the main opposition party yet to make up its mind about joining forces with the opposition talks? The party in the week refuted claims and it instructed members to join the opposition coalition. When we get back, we'll be looking at this particular issue. In a statement by the National Public Secretary, Debo Ologuaba, the party said it is for now focused on building itself and reclaiming lost grounds. We'll get back and we'll continue with the program. Stay with us. All right, this in case you're just joining, I'm ND Amongo. Next and still on the coalition talks is the People's Democratic Party's frantic efforts to put its house in order and then re-emerge from its protracted internal crisis. Why is the main opposition party yet to make up its mind about joining forces with opposition talks? Well, the party in the week refuted claims that it instructed members to join the opposition coalition. In a statement by the National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologuaba, the party said it is for now focused on building itself and reclaiming lost ground. This comes as the party issued stern warning to members contemplating defection vowing to take decisive action against those undermining the party ahead of its planned National Executive Committee meeting scheduled for 23 to 25th of July 2025. Now, to help us take a look at PDP's healing process and why it seems to be foot dragging on joining ongoing opposition coalition talks in ADC, we still have two analysts with us in the studio, Baba Yusuf and Ben Ukeji. Well, welcome to the program second time around, as it were. Let me start with you now, Baba. PDP is warning members against defection. But now, I'm wondering, because governors have defected already along with some NAS members to APC. So, you want to try to help us understand this warning and then those who have defected, and I don't know.
It's a very simple reply. PDP is slowly becoming a legacy party. The warning is a sign of desperation and cluelessness of a party that is confused, dazed, and amazed at the twilight of its existence if, big if, they do not take the right steps. Warning is of no effect. Are you warning a governor that has already defected? Are you warning the governors that are on the waiting to defect? Hello, in the next couple of months, more governors are going to defect. You see, people need to have the confidence to remain in a political party. When the party loses leadership for a long time, because leadership abhors vacuum, you lose gravitas as a party. People will argue to say, is the national chairman not a leader? There is a leadership tussle. So people are there that do not recognize the sitting leaders and the various varying interests that have become what I call irreconcilable differences is part of the problem that warning will only exacerbate. People are living. You are a political party. You are not a military establishment. And you are issuing warning. You are a political party. You are not a company that is issuing query. So that attitude is only going to push more people forward. Water is under the bridge, Indy, and the bus is leaving the station. I will expect them to go to the gate and try to appeal to people to drop from the bus. How do you tell people to drop from the bus when your boat, 4 tires or 2 tires are on top of the stone? You are not making effort to put tire, and me, I want to go to my destination. So I think the warning is a sign of, I don't know otherwise to cluelessness, because I'm not happy that such a party that held sway for such a long time is not able to weather the storm of opposition. You see, the issue is the inability of some of our elites to withstand opposition. And that is where I have to give a President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Whether you like him or you don't like him. I was part of the team that as a young boy was privileged to the glory of Almighty God to be in the Westminster Foundation for Democracy in 1998, where we were tutored by members of Parliament of the British Parliament, the ruling party, as it were, I think the Labour Party, and even the people. And we had a topic. They took us through a topic for almost several hours with regards to opposition party, how to run opposition parties, and the likes of late Samuel Morlar of blessed memory, late Mahmoud Waziri of blessed memory, late Amin Abubakar Rimi were in that class. Because there must be opposition. And so long as you are running a democracy, one day you will be in opposition. Democrat Party is in opposition. Today is Labour, the other day is Conservative. So if you are as a party and you are bragging you are the biggest party, you are a stronger party, 2-3 years down the line, you are already scattering. It speaks of the volume of first of all, the ideology of the party. 2, the structure itself, as it were, was actually formed for a particular purpose. So the warning to me is of no effect. What I will expect PDP to do is to start preparing how to re-emerge, to remodel itself.
That's what they said they are doing.
So remodeling will not come from using dictatorial narration and messaging to bring people into your fold. Is to continue using the strategy of influencing and sensing rather than strategy of control.
Diplomacy being key.
Absolutely.
Well, Damagu says those demarketing the party should desist or they will take appropriate action at the right time.
Okay.
Who, in your view, is doing the greatest demarcating of the party? What meaning do you read into appropriate action?
Yeah, I want to say that the PDP is living in self-denial, self-destruct, arrogance, and its imposing character. I don't want to condemn the party because it's still a political party with a certain level of structures. But I want to say that all what is happening to the PDP as a political party caused that to itself. First, it happened when President Goodluck Jonathan insisted, let me be very frank, insisted in running for the second term in 2015. You know, that gentleman agreement that is between the North and the South, for some of us, I strongly believe in such an arrangement. So I believe that arrangement should have occurred. You know, now that happened, that was where the crisis of the PDP started. You know, from there, 5 governors left, people like Atiku left, and that joined forces with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Buhari, and then they were able to win the 2015 election. Thereafter, some leaders of the party left it, and you know, Wike, the current FCT minister, honestly did marvelous well when he took on the responsibility of galvanizing support, you know, for the party, you know, and was running the party basically. At a point, then the 2019 came, and the ticket, you know, he contested. Yes, and lost, you know, the ticket, and Atiku Abubakar have the ticket, and later again in the 2023 election. So basically what has happened to the PDP is because the PDP, you know, a political party has function that it ought to perform. One, the party needs to aggregate interest of its members. The party needs to articulate its interest. In articulating their interest, you know the kind of interest you pursue and the one you will not. Now, the PDP should have pursued, in that 2015 election, should have given way to a northern candidate. That didn't happen. And that's where the crisis started. Now, in 2023 election, that they also lost. You know, I believe, I'm not holding brief for anybody here, but I believe that the current FCT minister worked very hard for the party. Sincerely, he worked very hard for the party. So the party ought to have compensated him. Now that Atiku won the primaries, when Atiku won that primaries, he should have been considered, you know, for the vice presidential slot. That's my thinking. That didn't happen, and that became the crisis that is in the PDP T debt. You know, because from that moment, they made request. They formed the G5, the 5 governors, Benue, Enugu, Oyo, Rivers, and that. You know, and they made certain demands, you know, to the leadership of the party, that the chairman, which is also an agreement of the party, that if the chairman of a political party is in the north, and the candidate comes from the north, the chairmanship should give way.
And vice versa.
That the chairmanship position cannot be in the same zone with the candidate. And unfortunately, in this election, Ayu was still the party chairman. Atiku was the presidential candidate of the party. So the people like Wike made very clear demands that let the chairmanship, hence a candidate has emerged, the Ayu should resign to pave way for a sudden candidate national chairman. And I think that is where the arrogancy of the PDP, as usual, came into. They should have considered to that demand, even if they didn't trust a Wike and believe that he was running an agenda. They should have considered that.
Okay, let me follow this line of thought before I ask the next question.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay.
So let me just land on my thought. Okay. Now, that didn't happen, and the Wike group formed that G5. Till today, the crisis in PDP is coming from that same G5. Okay? And the demarketing of the PDP is still coming from that G5. Okay? And unfortunately, the leadership of the PDP, or the party, are insincere. The leadership of the party clearly knows what is happening, but they are afraid, you know, to take decisive decisions. So as long as they cannot take a decisive decision, cannot put their house in order, I see the PDP dying gradually.
Now, Baba Yusuf, Olubodio says if some can stay in the party and work for the ruling party, we know who he's talking about. And I don't know how that works, really. How you can stay in a party and you're working for the ruling party.
How?
And you're promising that you must make your principal the president when you are in another party.
Honestly.
All right. So, Olubodio says if some can stay in the party and work for the ruling party, then they also can stay in PDP and work for the coalition.
Well, it's okay, but the gentleman should note this and the PDP.
I mean, talking about PDP dragging their foot.
Yeah, I know. He can say that. But you see, first of all, there is what is called governance of national unity. When we formed the alliance with AD after the election, President Olusegun Obasanjo set up a governance of national unity. That is how we ended up moving into the PDP. And we had the likes of late Imam Manshata becoming minister, late Aisha Ismail becoming minister, and 2 other ministers. Now, Mr. Wike, I agree with Ben that Mr. Wike was a critical stakeholder that was not treated fairly in all sense, if we want to be fair and speak to the facts. And that is why if you pay loyalty and commitment with disdain, what you get, you eat it. From the strategic point of view, they should have dimensioned the personality Nyesom Wike, as Sun Tzu, the great military strategist, says. When you want to go to war, you should get ready for it. And that is why earlier I talked about, and I've been consistently talking about the linchpin strategy of Nyesom Wike. In strategy, there's what we call the linchpin strategy, or you can call it the dead man's noose. And that is why Wike did. When people are jumping from one party to other, 65% of our politicians do not have the political dexterity and the benevolence to commit to a party with finance, with loyalty and commitment. All they want is this sense of entitlement. You move from one party to another. You can't even fund a party for 2 months. Isn't it very, very interesting or sad?
Should we be thinking
hold
about
on. Let me land. Is it not interesting as an opposition party that wants to be a veritable opposition platform? I was not happy to see this for the PDP. I was barely aching for PDP. But if you are saying Wike went and locked your headquarters because you didn't pay ground rent of 6 million or whatever, how did you allow that to happen? All the governors are in PDP. Members of state assembly, members of national assembly, you cannot even pay your ground rent. No, are responsible citizens, and you are now coming and saying he locked our party. He's a PDP member. He locked our party. Now, for me as a Nigerian, I start asking myself, these people that cannot be responsible to pay ground rent, do they have the locus to contest election and be my president or be my governor? That is the way I see it. Now, coming to look at whether Wike is doing the right thing or not, it's all about policy. There's nothing that Wike is doing today that others have not done. The only thing is what you are having is what they do plus. Now, the man has held on to the structure of the party to the extent that the political colossus that were in the party are not even able to untangle him from the party. That is how a linchpin strategy works. And that is what messaging that also I will learn. You give me 5 minutes or 2 minutes to get that same message for APC.
I don't even have 1 minute.
When you
get to bed.
When you become complacent, and that goes to the APC too, you come so full of yourself, you wish everybody away, you treat anybody anyhow, the underdog will become the champion dog. And by that, when it happens, it will be very difficult for you to lose. And APC also should consider that in the next 2-3 years. Let them not think it's going to be easy, because when you become complacent, that is when those that you wish away will become powerful, and the rest is history.
Now, I hope I've not forgotten what I wanted to ask. I was talking about funding of parties. Should individuals be funding parties? Isn't that is it policy problem? Isn't that really a problem? You know, and then Wike says, if that's the caveat, if PDP, that is only PDP that can challenge or remove APC or Tinubu from office if they are organized. Yeah. But some believe he's the one causing the problem.
That's the truth. They will never be organized. And he just provided that provision if, but knowing fully well that he knows clearly that he cannot. Okay? They cannot be organized. Because, I don't want to, let me say what I think will happen to the PDP. I believe very strongly that at the end of the day, by 2027, the PDP will present a candidate from the weaker function or angle or side of the party. That candidate is going to be a very weak candidate. So two things could happen. One, the candidate may, few days to the election, may concede and say he has endorsed the ruling party. Or the candidate will be so weak to the extent that he cannot even campaign. That's what I think is going to happen in the PDP. And I think that's what the wicked strategy is working towards. Now, let me come to the issue of funding. The biggest challenge of political parties in Nigeria is funding. The big bags, the money bags have hijacked the political structure of this country. And it's a challenge. That is why when things don't go their way, the party scatter, they leave the party, and they leave the party in disarray. In the First Republic, 1963 to 1966, the Second Republic, 1979 to 1982, you have individual parties funding themselves. Membership, people were paying dues, and that makes those parties very strong, very accountable. Yes. They can look up to the ruling person in power and tell the person to call the person to order. The party then was stronger than the leader, because don't forget, it's a vehicle, it's a platform by which that candidate wins an election. Okay, so you cannot, they were stronger than the individual, but today we have individuals who are stronger than the political parties. Okay,
Ben and Baba Yusuf, I would have liked to take on that talk, which is very interesting, but that's all the time we have. Ben, Baba Yusuf and Ben Ukeji, thank you for your analysis. We'll watch and the playing field and see how the ball rolls and who scores and who loses the game. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
That's the much we can take on this edition of This Week today. Thanks to our production team here in Abuja, Lagos, and of course around the globe. Do join us same time next week for another exciting edition. I am Ndi Amugu.